Say hello to my guest, Elisabeth Staudinger, here at LSI 2023. Elisabeth, thank you for coming by the studio.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here today.
I know, and we got the sun to shine. It's day 2 of LSI, and we've now delivered on the promise, which is all we ever ask of Southern California. Sunny, 68, and they delivered today. So we got a break from the rain. How has LSI been for you?
Well, I came in last night, right, and I spent the morning speaking to a few of the startup companies joining LSI Summit this year, and it's been very fascinating and also inspiring for me to be here so far.
Terrific. Are you coming in from maybe another part of the world where Siemens has opened up a new innovation center?
Well, I did come in from Europe, but just last week, actually, I was in India, where we inaugurated, or where we had the groundbreaking ceremony for a new innovation campus that we are building in Bangalore, in the south of India. And this place will be home to more than 3,000 software engineers, which will span across all the different parts of the healthcare space that Siemens Healthineers is covering.
So for Siemens, this is maybe one of the largest campuses you've ever built, or the most integrated into the community. You were saying that maybe one of the big hospital systems for India is a stone's throw away. Tell us more about how that's going to come to life.
Right. For us, this is a fascinating location, and already today, about 50% of all software engineers in Siemens Healthineers are based out of Bangalore in India, and they cover the whole range. They cover all the different parts of our business, be it the imaging space, the radiation therapy, the diagnostics work we do. And they're very closely linked and connected with the ecosystem around them, be it healthcare providers, but also be it the innovation ecosystem around us in India, that we all bring together in one spot there.
Yeah, I think I had read in maybe somewhere on maybe one of your LinkedIn posts, and correct my remembrance of this, but technical people with curious minds, that's innovation.
Exactly. It's technical people, it's curious minds, and it's also the creating that space where people can connect across, right? Where you go, you need your very, very deep domain, right? But then if you have an opportunity to exchange and connect the things you're working on with the people around you, that's when you can really create step change.
You know, it's interesting. I started off early in my career, I was in the Navy. And so then coming into Silicon Valley from that, I look for that kind of leadership and cross-training that's native to a ship. And I'm beginning to see where that might be an advantage for healthcare is you've got, yes, during your watch period, you're a radioman, you're a boilers operator, but there are times whenever you have to work with other people of different disciplines, but you have this common denominator. I'm wondering if that healthcare, the delivery of healthcare, that can become the common denominator for these very different technical skills, which we absolutely have to have, for those to come together.
Right, if you look at healthcare, right, and look at it from the patient, you're looking at a good outcome for yourself, right? And in order to get there, having one deep expertise in one space is just one piece of the puzzle, right? You need all these different elements to come together, revolving around the patient, looking at what is it, what will help this individual patient, what will help me as a patient, and bring together all the different strengths. Yeah? And it's this combination, it's also understanding how pieces fit together, which is necessary to truly make a difference.
I think that's another puzzle even in the US, very complicated system, and you have so many specialists and they understand the regulatory scheme. They look at all the changes that are happening to our clinical trial strategy, and Walgreens is working very hard to shatter that model of you have to go to the main center. So we're changing that. We're changing the way that delivery happens with software. But those are all discrete specialties. So how does the Healthineers program, what's your secret sauce? How do you bring all those disciplines together to understand the continuum of care?
I mean, for us, we like to speak about this combination of focus and scale. And that's also a conversation we are having in the company on the one hand side, it's extremely important to be very, very deep in your domain, to really understand the depths of the technology, of the clinical application, of the patient impact and outcome. And at the same time, we spend time looking for ways of connecting the dots horizontally. And that's when you kind of like envision a bird when you start flying, and you look at the world from a 10,000 feet perspective and see, okay, well, if we take this perspective, so what do we see and how can we bring the different pieces together? And this is something where we believe in Siemens Healthineers, we really have this very unique combination, right, of the creating something we call digital twinning, right, where you use the information from the imaging, use information from laboratory diagnostics to be very exact about the diagnosis, about the possible treatment options. Then combine this with the technology which you need to be super precise in making sure the precision is exactly, the therapy is exactly targeted at where it needs to go, doing the things you are looking for it to do. And all of this is enabled by digital data and AI, which helps then with the links, it helps with connecting the different pieces, and it's this triad, so to say, where we believe we can make a real impact and make a difference.
So how far does digital twinning go? Is this, do you get into oncology, so down to like tumor level, or does this just stay with like the major, joints, like if you use an orthopedic example, so that you can twin a joint, or can you twin like deep information about a particular patient for like a precision healthcare example?
When you look at this fascinating idea of a digital twin, and it's been part also of the conversations I had here in the morning, already simple things can make a huge difference, and then you can scale it up to this huge vision of a physiological model of a person, which starts at birth, where you capture genomic information, where as you do exam, blood test results, imaging, whatever, you capture all of this information longitudinally to then shape this vision of a long-term digital twin. If we start from the simple things where I said they already make a huge difference, having exact and precise information on the imaging or the blood testing side, and having this early enough already can make a huge difference to the care pathway as well as the patient outcome. Specifically, if you ask about orthopedics and organs, there is one area in cardiology we have been working on for quite some time already, which is very concrete and very tangible. And this is where we create a digital representation of a patient's heart. So it would be your heart, it would be my heart, not just a heart. Right? And you use the imaging information, you use the information on how does electricity flow through the muscle, you have the dynamics of the muscle moving, you have the blood flow going through the heart. And then you can use this model to test certain therapy options. One example we are working on is when you have arrhythmia. There is many different ways of treating that, and there is different approaches you can take. And you can use this digital twin or model of the heart to simulate therapy options and then to model which one of these pathways most likely will have the best outcome for the patient. So this is one very concrete example where a digital model of an organ is used to choose the most impactful procedure for an individual patient.
And then does that become part of the conversation between the surgeon and the patient about informed consent? And it almost seems like you have more than the surgeon, right? Because you now have the information from the digital twin that's also advising. Surgeons going to use their judgment, but it seems like you're giving a powerful tool to inform the surgeon and thereby help the patient understand this is selected for you. We looked at your data.
Right, and I think you're absolutely right. It goes both ways. So on the one hand side, it supports the physician in making the best possible choice. And it's also a vehicle to explain to the patient, say, well, this is what's wrong. This is where you see where the issue is, this is what I will do, and this is what it will do to your heart. And that's the outcome you can expect. So I think it's a very powerful tool to inform the physician's choice, but also to help the patient understand what's going on and how it will help him or her.
Wow, I'm so glad that you shared digital twinning. That seems like a fascinating breakthrough. One of the other things that I found very interesting was you had another post that talked about, what are all of these different skills that are coming together? And it seemed like you're drawing from almost every spectrum of Siemens. Manufacturing is represented, your service organization, sales is there, of course R&D is there, and then you've got deep technical skills and clinical scenarios. So how does all of that come together? What led you to that as opposed to, well, we have the best R&D engineers in the world and they'll figure it out? What led to that, bringing all those voices together?
Well, what's driving us is really what we also describe as our purpose, is to say we want to pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere. And if you take that statement, that's what's driving us. Yeah? And when you're speaking about pioneering breakthroughs in healthcare, that's nothing anybody can do alone, right? So it's very clear that you have to kind of have people who want to and know how to really push the boundaries of what's possible, right? You have that urge and that curiosity to also go and find out. Yeah? At the same time, we are speaking about breakthroughs, and a breakthrough is only a breakthrough if it makes a real difference. Yeah? And we're in healthcare. And healthcare is a space where it's very sensitive. You're touching patients' lives, so you need to have this inquisitive spirit, but then also combine it with the deep technological engineering capability and also the clinical know-how. Yeah? Because if you don't bring together these different pieces, you may be doing pioneering things, but it will not be a meaningful breakthrough for healthcare. Yeah?
That's a beautiful definition. A panel earlier today, they were talking about the digital OR, right? A lot of conversations this year at LSI about AR and VR and digital and software as a medical device. And one of the things that came up was, because we can, should we? I think that's like this ultimate tension that's within a lot of our big key regulated industries. Is just because you can disrupt something or change something, oftentimes it's best not to. That there is a deep rationale for why things are done the way that they are inside the health system. You touched on many of them. This is someone's life. You don't tinker there. This is not the place for tinkering. So I wonder if there's more that inspires the vision that you have at Siemens and how that reaches healthcare.
Well, I think it's absolutely meaningful and also necessary to continuously question what you do and consider, is there a better way of doing something? And as new technologies become available, I think it's also something we have to do and we also want to do, is to see, well, how can we utilize these technologies and also impact the space of healthcare? So if you're asking the question, well, just because we can, should we? To me, it's very clear that as long as you look for a positive patient outcome, ultimately, and you can demonstrate how the combination of something which is new, with the challenges that we're facing in the healthcare system, will make a difference, either to a patient or to making the system more viable, more efficient. I think there is a real obligation of also trying to explore how we can leverage new possibilities.
One of the things we're seeing in the U.S. health system is, this broadening of the meaning of innovation, and it's one of the things I really enjoy exploring. And a lot of times, it's not, maybe we're coming into an age where it's not fundamental science that's been developed over 10 or 15 years that finally makes it into a product that breaks its way through regulatory, but it could be something as simply changing business processes. Adapting the way that digital is accepted getting digital education into reimbursement strategies, helping hospital systems understand how digital tools are not just apps on iPhones, but they have clinical significance. So do you see, is Healthineers going to be able to enable this, I'll call it the digital education of healthcare systems around the globe? Do you see that role?
I absolutely share the vision that digitalization is already making a huge impact on healthcare, will make a much, much bigger impact on healthcare as we look into the future. And this space of education specifically, I believe, is a very interesting and important one. Because one of the big challenges healthcare systems here in the United States, but also globally, are facing is there is just not enough people who are trained, who have the expertise, and who have the capability of making the right decisions or performing the right procedures. Staff shortage, I mean, a huge buzzword, but not only a buzzword, a real challenge for healthcare systems in the United States and everywhere. And if you now envision that you use digitalization to multiply how many people you can train, how many people you can impact, how you can use the scarce resources you have in a way that they're more available exactly where they're needed. I think it's a very interesting opportunity to work on. And I can tell here also from being at LSI, many people are thinking about, well, what can I do? What is my idea? How can I contribute to solving that challenge?
Yeah, I think it will be, it's almost like we need to innovate in a way to create more capacity for the health system to accept innovation. There's almost like this, we need to help it create the opportunities and the pathways for new technologies to find their way into the system. So it's very different than when I started doing this 20 years ago, and it was all surgeon with a great idea, works with an engineer, they make a new thingy, and that thingy has to get into the health system and then move the needle in advancing the standard of care. But now we're seeing, we have a system that needs innovation in a meaningful way, not a disruptive way, not a destructive way, but something that really allows it to now sort of take a deep breath and expand its lungs to new areas and these new technologies to come in.
Absolutely, and I believe there will continue to be space for that first type of innovation that you were describing. I think there is still a lot of things to be discovered, tried out, experimented with, invented. And then there is new ways of adding additional innovation to the healthcare system.
Yeah, the one model that came up yesterday was the device, the therapy that enters that can now collect data. Then you have the outcome from that. So now you have data from the data that you collected that then feeds back into the device or the therapy, rendering a new one that goes out, collects more data, and this virtuous cycle of, which I don't know how well that was captured, in, say, even the last decade. And so now I think there's this awareness of the outcomes, how you specifically led to value, how you specifically led to better patient outcomes. So maybe we're also enabling those kinds of cycles of innovation.
I absolutely agree that there is, also as computing power is becoming available, algorithms are becoming available, the opportunity to connect the dots have just increased tremendously. And leveraging these opportunities for healthcare as well is a very fascinating thing to do.
Elisabeth, thank you so much for coming by.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. It's been a great day so far, and I'm very much looking forward to spending the rest of the day here at LSI in California with these amazing companies that have been joining here together.
Well, I'm glad Siemens got you out here to do it, and enjoy the rest of your LSI.
Thank you.